Hey, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Lakers special bonus edition for Saturday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky, buzzer beater from Maxi Kleber. The Lakers lose Friday night against the Mavericks. A dagger right in the middle of the chest. This one hurts. We'll talk about it next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. Always free, never behind a paywall. And you are waking up on a weekend, perhaps joining in the Locked On Lakers YouTube channel to mourn the passing of a game the Lakers really needed to win on Friday. Had it, fought back admirably to put themselves in a position to win it. And the late game execution problems for the Lakers that they seem to have been starting to get through. Oh my goodness, Andy, did they come roaring back on Friday night? I mean, the late game execution. That's my analysis, Andy. Woof. Oh, yeah. Oh, give me the crab juice.
I mean, it was bad late game execution. And in particular, we're going to get into this really bad late game execution from Anthony Davis on both ends of the floor. He was in the middle of some very
It's actually worse on the defense. There were rare moments where Anthony Davis was worse. For if you missed it, the last 35 seconds of this game, what Andy is referencing, Anthony Davis took a terrible foul on Maxi Kleber from three. On a shot that Kleber missed, and Davis absolutely ran right through him. It was
yes.
A clear foul on a closeout, an uncharacteristically terrible foul from AD. Kleber, who is not a good free throw shooter, hit all three.
He is, however, a good three-point shooter.
Yes, that part he is.
As we will discuss later very soon,
AD,
actually. I think we're getting
the Lakers,
right to this.
Yeah, the Lakers are in a situation where where they get the ball inbounds. Dallas needs to foul. The ball goes to Anthony Davis. The Lakers are up by one. Davis splits the free throws, and he only makes one of two, leaving the Mavs now only down by two, meaning they can win the game, which they did in part because Anthony Davis lost his position on the floor. And gave Kyrie Irving enough space to thread the needle over to Kleber. Kleber had room to shoot over the Davis close, and I mean, give the guy credit. I mean that was all twine. That was as pure as a three could be. Lakers lose 111-110 is the final. And bad last minute for AD. Oof.
It was one of those shots too for Kleber, and you hear guys, former players, current players talk about this all the time. Those are often the easiest ones because the Lakers have done a really good job. I believe it was Schroeder and
Gabriel trapping and getting the ball out of Kyrie's hands. Yeah.
Right. And they made it difficult for Kyrie just to, as you alluded to before, Brian, just to throw the pass. They made it difficult forget making Kyrie give up the ball. They were making it difficult for him to actually do it. Like, for a second, I actually wondered if Kyrie was going to be forced to put up a shot after the buzzer went,
or at the very least, a really difficult two. That's where I thought it was going.
Right, and the ball got to Kleber, and he put up this shot right before the final buzzer. And AD talked about this after the game. And look, to AD's credit, he said that he told his teammates that the last play was his fault. And he said that he was down low for a rebound, which I just flat out don't understand, because where things have been headed at that point, because like we said, Kyrie was already well doubled, didn't have enough time to drive in. So if he put up the shot, there likely wasn't going to be enough time for anybody to rebound it, Laker or Maverick. And on top of it too, there was already somebody down low anyway.
I think
so
Derek Fisher mentioned that at the end, the Lakers, on Spectrum, like his read of it, and that's what I thought happened was he saw, I don't even remember who it was because Bullock was in the corner.
I'll tell you, it was noted scorer and rebounder Theo Pinson.
Well, you got to double Theo Pinson.
Yeah, I mean,
what's a Theo Pinson? I bet so I think, Fish's explanation, this is what I thought too, was he saw the player near the basket and instinctively kind of went down and then couldn't recover fast enough. But it's a complete loss of discipline because if he is at the level where he needs to be in terms of being higher on the floor, not only can Kyrie not make that pass to Clay because Davis will easily, just steal the ball. He also isn't going to be able to make the cross-court pass. He'd have to throw it over AD to Bullock in the corner to get there. And there wouldn't be enough time left on the clock to do that. I mean, it was a bad read. It was a terrible read. He got lost and like you say, the Lakers actually did a very good job on Kyrie in that situation, not letting him get free to take a shot or make an easy pass. And, as you look at this game, the AD stuff aside, I know you have some numbers on that, and we'll get to it in a second. You watch this game the whole time, and you're like, huh. To their credit, the Lakers fight back. They played a much better second half than they did in the first half. They played a really good fourth quarter up until the end. But you look at it, and they're 19 of 31 from the free throw line. Austin Reeves missed 2 technical. I mean, he's a good free throw shooter. He missed a couple. They missed 12.
Every Laker that went to the line tonight missed at least 1 free throw.
Yep.
Every single Laker who went to the line.
And so you're sitting there going, how many of these things can they miss before it's going to bite them? And, how many times can you kind of put your hand on the stove before it gets burned? And then then you look at, a little deeper into it. They made 5 3-pointers in this game. 5. And so you look at it and you're like, God damn, if they win this game missing 12 free throws and only making 5 3-pointers, that's like stealing. And it turns out they didn't win. They needed one of those 3-pointers back. They needed a couple of those free throws. They needed something. And they got a little too close to the fire there and they got burned.
Yeah. I mean, just that's part of not necessarily the late game execution, but just execution as a whole. I thought they spent the first half of this game pretty flat. Like there did not feel like there was a real urgency from them in the first half. It just, and it's interesting too. I mean, some of that can be just reading on court body language or vibes or whatever. Some of this might be a function of your 2 best players right now are AD and D'Lo, and they're both, D'Lo can get animated, but they're both kind of laid back personalities. You know what I mean? Like the energy guys on this team, and really the guys that I thought played the best for most of this game. Schroeder, Reeves, Wenyen Gabriel. Wenyen was fantastic in this game. Mm-hmm. Jared Vanderbilt, I thought in the first half was quite good. I'm obviously not there. And this is a bit of, I don't know, I wouldn't say necessarily even armchair psychiatry. It's just watching from a distance, and it may be total BS, me talking out of my ass, but
wouldn't be the first
sometimes
time.
It just feels like you need more of that overt, let's do it from your stars.
I understand what you're saying. I mean, it's hard. I am always somebody who the energy, and I'm not saying this is what you are doing. But kind of ascribing a lack of energy, a lack of, not effort. I don't think they're not trying.
No, I don't think so.
Whether
either.
They're completely locked in, whether they are, I don't even know what that means to some degree with this group. But you look at some of these numbers, you talk about D'Lo, he's their second best player right now. He's 5 of 17 from the floor. He was 5 of 16 against Houston.
Yeah.
He and Beasley were a combined, this is both sides of this statistic are disturbing. 0 for 9. The O is a problem. Lakers again, 5 of 20 from 3-point range. You cannot win games in the NBA very often when you are 5. 5 is too low. 5 of 20 is too inefficient. So, you're not doing yourselves any favors there. But, the 9 isn't enough either from those two guys. Anthony, we were talking before we started about how well AD was playing, like overall in the game. And he finished with 26 points, 9 of 14 from 4, 10 rebounds. He had a block. He had 3 assists. He was actually 8 of 11 from the line, but that the one that he missed at the end was obviously critical. And when you miss matters, it's not just your raw percentage. Dallas continued to do what other teams have been doing, which was, overplay on AD. And the Lakers, I think, struggled, particularly early in games, to kind of figure out what to do with that. They actually did better in the first half. The non-AD minutes that they had at the end of the first quarter into the second were actually pretty good. And I think that was in part because they weren't trying to figure, he wasn't there to try to give him the ball. And so they need to figure that out, because this is how teams are going to play them for the rest of the year. Some of it is hit your 3-pointers, and that will break down all these defenses. But they couldn't do it. They struggled late. The execution, they went, had these long stretches again where they couldn't score. Despite outscoring Dallas 30-22 in the fourth quarter, they had long stretches in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game where they couldn't get any offense. And just, we've seen this movie before. And then you have AD playing a good game overall and a terrible last 40 seconds or whatever it was.
Well, before I get to these numbers that I looked up, just one final thought when you're talking about with Russell and Beasley, the lack of threes and the lack of threes attempted from them tonight was problematic. The last few games, neither one of them has been particularly good from behind the arc, which in a lot of ways will dictate how good the team is from behind the arc. The difference is, though, D'Lo at least had 11 assists against 0 turnovers. With Beasley, I'm starting to grow concerned that Darvin Ham's going to have to consider at least giving some of those minutes to Lonnie and giving him another try, because Beasley is one of those players where if he is not hitting, he's not scoring, but in particular, if he's not hitting outside shots, he does not do a whole hell of a lot more. And in the meantime, he tends to score in very similar ways. He was going to the rim a little bit tonight, but he tends to do it on, catch and shoots or outside shots. Like Lonnie is, if nothing else, a more varied and I think dynamic scorer than Beasley.
Yeah.
So
at the very least, he's just, it's the 3 isn't enough. If he's going to be out there, they need to be finding him more shots, better shots. You're right. It may be something they have to look at. Look, they got decent performances out of Schroeder. He gave him 15 and 5 off the bench in 30 minutes. Austin Reeves, those free throws aside, gave him 16, 6 of 9 from the free throw line. That needs to be better, obviously, but played a very Austin Reeves game. He was a plus 10 in 30 minutes. It's just, the clutch moments and the clutch moments for AD from the line, you looked up the numbers. It's bad. It's really, really bad.
They're not good. And I preface this by saying, looking these up, I do not know for sure if the numbers are entirely up to date with tonight's game, but it doesn't necessarily even matter because tonight's game aren't going. It's not going to help him for what I'm getting.
1 for 2.
Anyway.
Just if you're doing the math at home, 1 for 2.
AD on the season is an 80% free throw shooter, 80.3. He is 76.9 from the fourth. So it's like, all right, that's actually basically what he shoots on the season.
Right.
So then then I looked up the clutch time numbers, which you can break down into different increments, but it's considered 5 points or less.
Right. It's within whatever it is, 3 or 4
right.
points. It's the last 5 minutes of the game.
Right. And what I looked up now was either Lakers ahead, Lakers behind, but clutch time. Last 5 minutes of the game, 69.6 at the line. Last 3 minutes of the game, 53.3 at the line. Last minute of the game, 46.2. And some of these start becoming smaller sample size. I get it. But then, as far as how many free throws you take over the last minute, last 3 minutes or whatever. But then, like, for example, I looked up LeBron's because LeBron has had high profile missed free throws down the stretches of games. Mm-hmm. LeBron on the season is 75.9 at the line. Last 5 minutes, LeBron, 77.8. Last 3 minutes, 86.7. Last minute, 100%. Like, LeBron is not somebody.
How many free throws is that? I'm just curious.
I mean, it's like 0.5 per game, 0.6, something like that.
Right.
I mean,
it's not that, but the point is, it's when he's had the opportunity, he's made them.
Right. And again, LeBron is somebody who I don't even think is thought of as clutch at the line or somebody that you send
or even thought of as a particularly good free throw shooter.
LeBron is actually better at the line than he kind of is perceived as. But those numbers, just them getting worse as the fourth quarter goes along, you can't have that. You especially can't have that when LeBron's not available and you are by far the best player on this team. You just can't have it.
And so, there's the debate, is this one on AD? Is it not? Like, I mean, in the most literal sense, no single game. When we talked about D'Angelo Russell was 5 of 17. Like, that is, Malik Beasley didn't hit a 3-pointer. Like, there are other people who did things throughout the game that, and Anthony Davis did a lot of good things that kept them close. All that, yes. I mean, we get it. And, if you want to be literal, he was instrumental in giving this game away at the end.
Yeah.
Because,
there's no way around it.
There are certain things. It is hard sometimes to get good shots late in games, particularly when they bottle up your star, and they were working real hard to keep the ball away from AD. But you don't have to foul Kleber on that 3. You don't have to lose Kleber on that last play, and you could certainly make your free throw. Get to the line, make both your free throws. If there's anything positive to come out of this game, it is that the Lakers, while they absolutely bricked an opportunity to move up in the standings, they would have been, I believe, in a tie for 7th or 8th had they won this one. 7th, I believe it would have been, because Dallas would have been there. They are not being punished for losing this game as much as they probably deserve to be. They are still in the 10 spot. Utah now has 2 games in hand, though, so that is problematic. The Lakers are 37 losses. Oklahoma City and Minnesota each have 36. The Lakers, fortunate they still play each of those teams one more time. They play the Jazz twice. So if they beat those teams, they likely can still get themselves into the top 10. But man alive, are they just... they're just giving away these opportunities. You combine this with the Houston game, and here are 2 games that are just, now you got to go beat Phoenix. Now, you got to do that now. So we'll see what happens on Sunday, but only after we see and hear this. We've all been in situations where we need a little bit of help, and today this episode of Locked On Lakers is brought to you by BetterHelp. We need, I think, everybody to have a little bit of sort of empathy for themselves, for the situations they're in. A little bit of self-care is critical. You got to get to know yourself. It can be a very challenging process, particularly in moments in life when, things are a little bit tougher. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness, deepening your understanding, because, sometimes you don't know why you're reacting to things the way you do. You just know it's a problem, and then you got to talk through things, and that can be helpful. I've benefited from therapy. I know Andy has benefited from therapy. And if you are thinking that you might benefit from therapy, you can give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You can discover your potential with BetterHelp by visiting betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA.
And Locked On Lakers is also brought to you by Nissan, and Nissan's most electric player of the week is brought to you by the all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Ariya, and the award goes to Wenyen Gabriel. Wenyen is rarely going to wow you with just pure counting stats. They're not going to be of the all-star variety, but he can be electric when he's in the game. He doesn't make it happen with pure power or strength. It's just heart and desire, and there's a ferocity to the way Wenyen Gabriel plays, just wanting it that badly when he's on the court. There are players that are more smooth and elegant, but good things tend to happen with Wenyen Gabriel on the floor for a reason. The 2023 Nissan Ariya packs pin you to your seat power and premium intelligence all in one EV. The all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Ariya, the EV for people who love to drive. Shop now at nissanusa.com.
All right. See everybody after the game on Sunday.